Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chatty Cuppa. Now, we all love doing this. I know I do. I love learning new things. In fact, last year, I've always wanted to learn how to play the clarinet. And guess what? I went onto Amazon, I bought myself a clarinet, and I've been using YouTube to learn a few notes. My God, it took me over a month to get a little sound out of a clarinet. And the reason for that is because, with practice, you tend to start getting better. And I had one of my friend's daughters. I think she's such a maestro when it comes to the clarinet, and she's been playing clarinet, I think, since primary school. And she just showed me and tweaked a little bit of what I was doing, and voila, I actually got a sound. But coming back to learning new things and the power of learning new things, I have this amazing woman right on the other side of my screen, and she is Nisanka, and she's a
Hi.
and she is a coach, and her company is called Coaching with Nisanka. And welcome, and I'm so glad that you could join us on the Chatty Kappa.
Thank you very much for having me. I was really excited and looking forward to be on your show since I've heard about it. So thank you for having me.
Well, it's always a pleasure. We're a bit like, I think my community is a bit nosy, but nosy in the sense that we want to learn more and we want to change the way we feel about ourselves. So I think all my guests, they've just been amazing in sharing their mindset hack so that the followers in the community can actually, magpie and copy some of the things that other people do. So, Nisanka, please tell me a little bit about yourself. Where did your journey start?
Okay, so a little bit about myself is I'm Nisanka, obviously originally from Sri Lanka. I always break the ice with this one, Nisanka from Sri Lanka. It rhymes. So I've been living in UK for the last 13 years. And I was in education, just like you, Nirasha, for nearly 20 years, doing all sorts of things, working in early years and secondary school as well, briefly training as an officer inspector, at which point, this is how the journey starts, at which point I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and severe depression after after the birth of my daughter. And then I started obviously looking for healing and went through conventional therapy for years. I was in conventional therapy. I've had a very traumatic upbringing. There are good times as a child. I talk about my trauma quite a lot because it's relevant to what I do. But nevertheless, I did have a good childhood as well as traumatic childhood. So, quite I grew up among sort of domestic violence and a sort of a violent environment, because of the riots, because of eruption of a war. So it all came to the surface when I gave birth to my daughter, as it always does. And
So
so I
was
was
that
really.
so was that depression, sorry, so was that depression postnatal, or was it surfacing of things like, I know unconsciously the mind must have thought giving birth means giving birth to whatever was inside of you.
Yes.
And literally that baby that came out of you was inside of you. So
Yeah.
similarly, whatever you were holding on to in your subconscious or unconscious mind, you gave birth to it and it surfaced.
Yeah, I think, as you know about the subconscious work, you know that when something happens, it stores in our subconscious, the belief stores in our subconscious. And we are very good at, as human beings, at surviving. So we survive somehow. So that way, I did survive all the traumatic events that happened in my life because I still had adults around me that did give a roof over my head, that did send me to school, and I had a good education. So I think the survival was okay. But what was happening within me was those beliefs were mounting up. Something that started, the trauma that happened, it was still very active in my subconscious. So when my daughter was born, it's that I would say I was not diagnosed with postnatal depression because I come from Sri Lanka, so mental health is not a topic that we grow up believing or talking about. So I did the same thing of I'm strong, this isn't, this will pass, and I have to be strong enough. I used to tell myself, my grandmother had 8 children. I am really ashamed of feeling this way just by giving one birth to one child. So I was trying to compare myself to that sort of thing. So I didn't really go and bear with me. Um, didn't really look for help.
Yeah.
But 2017, so my daughter was about 5 years old by that
Mhm.
time, so 4.5, 5 years old. Work got stressed, other things started happening. As you know, when you're depressed, when you're anxious, you don't make good decisions anyway. So it goes into that
The loop.
spiraling up. And things happen, and I found myself saying goodbye to my child, and that was the moment I had to go and find help, because
Yeah.
it was a very good indication, me asking, what are you doing? So I
Well,
started looking
you
for
did.
help.
Well, going back to you were talking about limiting beliefs. Now, I
Yeah,
work with my clients, and most of my clients, they find their solution by getting rid of that, acknowledging their limiting beliefs, but
yeah,
also allowing that child in them to grow up
yeah,
and match the person that they become presently. Now, when you asked yourself questions like, my grandmother used gave birth to 8 children, and what the hell's happening to me? Did you find that comparison also part of the limiting beliefs, or was it?
oh, absolutely, it was limiting, and also that what can I say, just reluctance to accept
Yeah.
that I was failing as a person. I always considered myself as a very strong person,
Hmm.
and um and it's about acknowledging that sometimes we just have to accept that we're not doing well. That is the first step of actually looking for healing. And I resisted that for such a long time. For about 3 4 years I kept going, I'm all right, I'm all right, I'm strong. Even when I had conventional therapy like CBT for my generalized anxiety disorder, I'm a good academic and I crack patterns very quickly. So I ran with the process rather than actually soaking it in and getting better.
Now,
And yeah, I think, yeah,
when you referred to, I found myself failing and I found myself, not doing well. Um, in most often, I always remind my clients that I don't think it's failure. It just means that the tools that you did use doesn't work anymore. So
right,
it's a matter of finding new tools that actually work.
yeah,
Because as parents, I my parenting when my kids were toddlers to children to now adults, my parenting had to change all the time.
yeah,
So what I always say is that we have to be the best parent to that child in us.
mm,
So we also our parenting skills have to change together with the tools. So when something is not fitting right anymore, you want to learn new things. And what was I know you said that you started your journey of learning new things, and you
yeah.
started this, you started to hack your mind by learning something new. Tell
Yeah.
me about that, and tell me what was the mindset behind that new learning?
First thing is, I'm a problem solver naturally. So I knew I had a problem. I had to find a solution.
Yeah.
And when I know there's a problem and I have to find a solution, I normally have this natural drive to go for things anyway. I don't think you have to be a problem solver to open up your mind. You
Mhm.
just need to be aware that there are other options that you're not aware of, and you can go for that. So I kept looking. I did the research, came across coaching, enrolled coaching, and coaching opened up my mindset a lot more, and I started learning new things, and therefore I started meeting new people. I started going to new events, and new events brought new people into my life. Nothing happens accidentally in our lives, and
Absolutely, yeah.
just that same way, there happened to be this person who talked about EFT and matrix reimprinting, and being the academic, being the logical mind, this, that made me cynical about some of these things. I went, how is tapping on my face is gonna help me. I've been in conventional therapy so long, and I was having medication. I did this, I did that. But for some reason, there was a drive. Although I was cynical, I think this is a very important thing. Sometimes we can be cynical of things,
Hmm.
but at that point, I was in that mindset. I had a problem, I had to solve it.
Yeah.
So even with the cynical mind, I gave myself permission to go and train myself. This is how cynical I was. I wanted to know what's the logic behind it before I could have the therapy myself.
You wanted to train yourself so that you can prove it wrong rather than see how brilliant it works.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Embarrassingly, yes, something like that. Something like that. I was like,
When did you
I'll
become a
prove you wrong.
believer then?
I know it's
When?
that cynical mind, the logical academic mind that we have been conditioned to believe right from a very start that this is the only way, the conventional way is the only way. And then I went and trained, and within the first 2 hours, Nirasha, the transformation in my mindset is shifted. So it went 180 degrees to the other right and the other side, and I started questioning my conditioning. And I started, obviously the training means you are also triggered as a person there, because that's how the training happens anyway in situations like that. And I was one of the first people to have triggered, and I started questioning what's going on. And I didn't understand. I was really confused, and I was also embarrassed as well. I was like, how is this happening? Because within the first 2 3 hours I could see the results happening.
And how
It's
did you
that quick.
feel seeing the results happening? And was that the point when the sin, that mindset that was doubting at the beginning,
Yeah.
was that when the switch happened? Or were
I
you
still
still
was.
there to
I was
prove it
still
wrong?
doubting. I was still doubting. I was still
Mhm.
doubting. But I allowed myself to feel better. I think that was one of the things that I was allowing I had tried everything, and I was getting sick of being traumatized over and over and over again, because my daughter was becoming that age where when my life events started happening, so every time she cried, I was triggered into some memories, and I had enough of that life. So I thought, okay, well, yes, I am cynical, but something is happening. So I went to the following day, the third day, fourth day, fifth day, and I went through the training. As soon as I came out of the training, I found a practitioner to work with. 5 sessions later, some major traumas in my life was gone. And I think it came, I would refer back to that point where I still felt cynical, but I wanted to give it another go, because this is about learning and opening your mind up to different things in your life, so that some of the options you didn't see before, actually you find the options that you didn't see
Yeah.
before, when you open your mind to learning new things
Yeah.
and go on new paths,
You know,
right? You'd be
uh,
surprised sometimes.
absolutely. My mom tells me this, and my mom has grown us up. My dad passed away very young. So I was 19 and he was 50 when he passed away. So my mom became a widow at 42. And being in an Indian family,
Yeah.
remarrying is taboo
Yeah.
because you then focus all your attention on growing up your kids as a single mom.
Yeah.
And I found that when my mom used to always drum this into my head, you have an open heart and you have an open mind, and that is a key to happiness and success.
Absolutely.
And I do that with my kids also, because I always feel like if you're closed, you'd never be able to see anything in front of you. Change could just be right there in front of you, but you
Yeah.
wouldn't be open to it because the heart and the mind is closed.
Yeah.
And you were at this moment ready and open to it, even though you had a bit of self-doubt. You had a not self-doubt, you had doubt on the process,
Process.
but it did work because you opened your heart and you opened your mind to new learnings. Now,
Absolutely.
what happens, like I'm rewinding, when you started learning new things, what really happens? Because I think not many people, I think people don't realize the power and the impact of doing something new.
Yeah.
We get so caught up in a rut, we do more of the same, and people say, gosh, I've been doing this for the last 10 years. And when people tell me that, I say, my God, that's bad. Doing something for the last 10 years isn't a proud moment,
Right.
because that means you haven't put yourself out there to learn something new. And we end up developing a comfort zone, and that comfort zone becomes a coffin, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
what happens, and if you could explain what happens in the mind when you start to learn new things?
But scientifically, you and I both know what happens in your mind. So it's about the neuroplasticity. So as opposed to the old teaching that mind is hardwired, the brain is hardwired, we now know that there is a concept called neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
That means neurons are grown every second. As we speak, something is happening in our brain. A new connection is being
Yeah.
created in our brain as we speak. So when that happens, the chemical reaction of our brain, of our body changes as well. So
Yeah.
more positive things you learn, more positive chemical reactions happen in your body, happier you become and healthier you become. Your immune markers go up, so you become much more immune to attacks from outside. Let's put it
Yeah.
that way. The simplest way to understand that. That's what happens when you learn new things. Your mind becomes active. New neurons grow in your brain. That means your brain becomes much more active. So a lot of things that we face, something things like Alzheimer's and things like
Yeah.
that, we reduce the risk of heart disease, Alzheimer's, any other autoimmune diseases in
MS,
our life, MS, anything.
sarcoidosis, anything.
So basically, what we have been told right from the start is if our body is broken, we have to fix it and we have to go and get medicine elsewhere. But we have completely forgotten our natural ability.
Mm.
We are wired, we are created to be able to heal and live a healthy life if we understand how this works.
Yeah, and I always say that, our bodies bring on the illness. Our
Yeah,
mind knows it gives us the illness, and it has the algorithm of the cure too. But it's
absolutely.
just tapping into it. Talking about neuroplasticity, when that happens, the gray matter in your brain actually grows.
We actually say, yes, it
That's a
grows.
beautiful thing. When I think about how brilliant our body is, I was talking to a client now, we were doing some hypnobirthing session, and I was talking to her how beautiful that part where the baby has to go through that labor until delivery, the part where the baby has to pass through the birthing canal. The baby is so traumatized.
Yeah,
But how beautiful is the power of our mind, where as soon as birth takes place, the baby forgets that.
yeah,
Because imagine if that baby remembered that trauma it experienced during the birthing, that journey through the birthing canal, it would be traumatized for life.
yeah,
And it's only after that that new memories are made and
yeah,
new ways of patterns of
yeah.
thinking are made. And it's just amazing. Our minds are amazing.
It
And
is. I mean, just to add to that one, if I think we are looking at the whole healing process in a completely, what can I say? I think we need to give a different perspective to healing. With with the concept of neuroplasticity, we spend too much time spending in the past throughout the healing process. You have to give equal importance to the past as well as to the future, because what happens when you keep focusing on the future is those new neurons are connected, those synaptic connections are created in our brain, and it helps us forget the past. So it helps us deal with the past as well. So you have to give that meaningful future a go if you really want to heal from the past.
yes, yes, totally. That is so true. And with the practice that I do, rapid transformational therapy and hypnotherapy, when we go back when we regress into the past, we literally go and we acknowledge it, we realize what has happened, we know the root cause of our problem, and
Yeah,
now we end up getting rid of it. We demand that it leaves the system,
yeah,
and when it does that, then we upgrade that child in us
yeah,
and we merge it back into the adult you, the new,
absolutely.
and then you now are literally you have a new you cleaned out your baggage from your unconscious mind.
Yeah,
It's now empty, ready to absorb new learnings, new memories, new things, new happiness, and that's
absolutely.
what the beautiful thing is.
It's
Uh,
about it's about flushing out. It just keeps falling out. I'm sorry. It's
exactly.
about flushing out a clogged drainage, right? When it's clogged, nothing goes through, right? So you clean the blockage and you let the new fresh water come through. A bit like that, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the good thing is, I always tell my clients to, oh, we also instill under hypnosis that you can never go back to being that little child ever again.
Yeah.
It's like water going down the drain. You don't go back and collect it.
Right.
So when you heal, you move forward and you leave the past behind and you just take the learnings. What are some of the new learnings you've embarked on over the years?
God, I cannot put that into a 5 minute segment, Niraj. I think the best thing I've learned about is the learnings I have about myself.
Mhm.
So the ways in which I have let go of from all the conditioning, the shackles. So it's about learning how to go inwards rather than going outwards. So when you go inside and learn about yourself and know how to make yourself happy, you can extend that circle of influence to the others. So that's the best way I can put them in a concise sentence. So it's about everything starts with you. So that's the main thing I have learned in this journey. Everything starts with you. Want
Yeah.
to make somebody else happy? Be happy yourself. You want to love somebody? Start loving yourself first. You want to forgive someone else? Start forgiving yourself first. And you want to be grateful? Start being grateful with you. And it is not a selfish approach. It is probably the most selfless act you can do
Yeah.
by loving yourself, by forgiving yourself, by learning about yourself, and by taking care of yourself. And that's the main learning I have taken, as as well as so many other things.
It is so weird. I was having this, somebody mentioned this, sometimes religion and spirituality gets confused in this whole idea of putting ourselves first.
Yeah,
And, sometimes the idea of being selfless is misconstrued also when it comes to religious practices.
it is.
Because some people look at the divine outside their bodies. Some
Yeah.
people are disassociated. They think that God's out there, and with certain rituals and religious practices. I know I'm a Hindu, and we do have certain rituals and ritual practices. And but the whole idea is that when you are being selfless, you're being selfless to that divinity within yourself.
Yeah.
You're realizing that divinity, because I always say that if our soul doesn't have the platform to be happy, to live its purpose,
Mm.
which is, serenity, calmness, truth, and peace,
Mm.
then it will end up making an illness in the body, so that
Yeah.
the body withers away, so that that soul can be set free to go find a better vehicle to
Absolutely. Yeah.
experience and to train. You were mentioning something about, going within. I always, in my book, I've written, I call it the blueprint to surfing the internet, because we are such masters of Googling and surfing the internet. And now is the time for us to find the real answers.
Yeah.
We need to start surfing the internet, because that's where all the knowledge is. That's where the gems are. And that's a beautiful part of learning new things, because like you said, you develop new connections.
Yeah.
The connection is inside of you.
Yeah.
What did how did learning new things make a difference to your life?
It's like I said, just referring back to what I said about being able to live a healthy life, being able to make better decisions, being able to make firm decisions, and being able to stay away from toxicity and knowing how to manage the toxicity around you. So being able to not let the outside stresses affect you. So stressful situations are going to happen anytime in your life. It can be within your personal circumstances, within your financial circumstances. It can be anything, but it's about knowing how to manage those things so that it doesn't affect you. That's one thing. And the other thing is better relationships, because when you know how to manage the toxicity, or toxic people rather, you know you have healthier, better, happier relationships based on positive communication and positive interactions and positive boundaries. So we do that, and it's also success. You attract success in many ways. Success is not the amount of money you have in your bank account, but if you wish to have a certain amount of money in your bank account, you can attract it because you end up making better decisions and you end up working more effectively and smarter. So it really is a positive impact. That's the best way I can put it. There is a significant positive impact in your life when you learn new things, and it can be just one simple thing at a time. For example, when I first started the healing journey, I did take some swimming classes back in Sri Lanka, but I'd completely forgotten how to swim. But I was determined I'm going to go back to swimming because I wanted to teach something new every day. So I was like, flapping about in the swimming pool, and it got better and better and better. And I think by the time the COVID started and the swimming pools closed, I was able to actually do a couple of laps in the
Oh,
swimming
well
pool, and that
done.
was, I know, it's a
Such an achievement. You know what? Little things. Some people say, "Oh, it's such a little thing." No, you compete with yourself. You know the
really,
goals you set with yourself. And to actually start better relationships, it starts from you romancing yourself.
yeah, oh,
When you
absolutely.
self-love, then you can love other people. I can never believe somebody, you know, that would say, I love people. But when you ask them the question, do you love yourself? And you have tears in their eyes because they don't. I see so many of my clients doing that, and self-love starts from within, romancing yourself. What are your three greatest tips in accessing new learning and plugging that gap?
Okay, the first thing is acceptance. So it's the first thing is whatever you do, whether it's healing or any other situation, accepting first. I think I use this analogy sometimes when I try to explain things to my clients, because I do have a very robust this sort of system with my clients. It's more no bullshit approach. So I don't sugarcoat things. So it's about accepting the reality. If you go to a cardiologist with a heart attack and the cardiologist is trying to smooth things over and then beat around the bush and don't know what to say to you, you end up dying, right? You
Yeah,
have to look at the same way at any other thing in your life. You've got to accept the reality of the issue, what it is, what is it's causing you, what are you missing out, what benefits will you gain from actually overcoming this issue that you're in. That's the first thing, the acceptance. The second thing is to have clarity on what is exactly that you're trying to achieve in your life, because success to me is different to success to you.
absolutely.
And it's an individual thing. So what is exactly, sort of getting clarity on your why. So why are you doing what you're doing, or what you want to learn, and why do you want to do that? So it's about getting clarity on second thing. The third is, we talk about business strategy a lot, but we don't talk about life strategy as much. You need a strategy in your life, whether it's healing, whether it's learning, whether it's maintaining your well-being. You do need a proven strategy for your thing. If you can do it on your own, fantastic. You might be one of those people who can do it on your own.
Mm.
Fantastic. Work with either one person or a group of people. How I got here from 3 years away, 3 years ago, I was suicidal. How I got here to be able to run a business and do all of these amazing things, because I actually decided to work with a group of people, therapists, a business mentor, good support system, and yeah, social media experts,
That will lift
wherever
you
I
up.
need it, wherever I need it, whoever I need it. I have a good support system. So you need a strategy. So it's about accepting, and it's about having clarity on what you want to achieve, and then third, having a strategy. You get these things right, you can do anything you want.
Absolutely. And you know what? That is three such potent words. And when it comes to clarity, I help my clients build their vision by doing some timeline therapy, and we do this vision board. And yesterday I was so thrilled. I had one of my clients that told me, I worked with her last year in November. She's only 26, 26, I
Yeah.
think. And she phones me up and she says, "Guess what? I bought my house." And that was something that she put up on her vision board. And she wanted me to come and have a coffee with her. And do you know what? I went to see her because she was also in isolation, and me too. So we managed to meet up. But it was like, when you enter the home of your child, like, because you know that you know where the person was and you know where they want to be, and to see themselves there, it's just amazing. So
Mm.
having clarity is so important.
Yeah.
So for me, a vision board really works well. I also feel like when we are about to embark on a new learning journey, yes, you do need support around you, but you need the right support, because I notice sometimes, especially in the Asian community, there's so much of competitiveness.
Yeah.
And if my friend is doing this, I want to do that, even though I didn't even know it existed before. So I think that competitive nature needs to be at the right things. So
Mm.
sometimes your friend might be learning something new, but that's not part of your plan, because
Mm.
it doesn't go with how you are as a
No.
person.
No.
I think that's so important, that we can't be copying what our friends do, because they are on their own journey.
Yeah.
They are on their own spiral of life. And so it's so important to take cognizance of your own, that, like what you mentioned, acceptance, clarity, and
Yeah.
the last one was
Strategy. Strategy. You have to have a
planning
strategy.
strategy. Absolutely. So, you know what, that brings me to the end of our chit chat, the chatty cuppa, and any last words that you'd like to give? Where
Last
can people
words. It
find?
will never be the last
No,
words,
it
probably.
won't. Where can people find you? Tell us. Tell us. In
So
my
people can find me on Instagram, Coaching with Nisanka, and Facebook, again, Coaching with Nisanka, and also my website is www.coachingwithnisanka.com. I do have a private Facebook group where I do go live and obviously share these kind of insightful conversations that I have with other people. It is called Let's Talk Anxiety, and you will find me there very often there. So I'm very active on my private Facebook group with advice and support and all sorts of things. So yeah, Let's Talk Anxiety. Join.
Oh, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. Well, guys, you know what? It's just amazing learning new things from other people, learning new things from people that have the experience. So, my father-in-law always says that a fool learns from his own mistakes, but a wise man learns from other people's mistakes. And he is a wise man, and he's thought that in me, and he embedded that in me. So this is the whole idea of the chatty couple. We learn from each other. We learn
Yeah.
from experts in the field of how they actually moved from where they were to where they are successfully now. And thank you so much for being here with me. You've given us such important insight in the journey of looking at the power of learning something new. Because right from the start, if we embark on a journey where we do pick up new gems along the way, imagine the amount of knowledge we have. And sometimes we also have to let go of certain knowledge that
Yes.
isn't fitting anymore.
Yes.
So it's constantly looking and saying, what is the gap? How do I plug it? What resources are around me for that
Yeah.
gap to be plugged? And just enjoy allowing your brain to grow, enjoy having this open heart and open mind. And that is definitely a great way to rewire and inspire that spark that's inside of you. So thank you so much, and lots of love from me to everyone else out there. Thank you.